In the records of scientific history, few names evoke as much wonder and fascination as that of Nikola Tesla. Tesla emerged from humble beginnings to become one of the most enigmatic and visionary figures of his time. Early life and curiosity. It was the night of 9th July 1856. A storm hit a European village Smiljanivka, which was originally part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire but is now located in Croatia. At night, the lightning and the storm were whistling in the nearby forest. The crying sound of a baby was also coming. It was the voice of a child who had just come into the world. This is a child of storms. The same child Nikola Tesla made 700 inventions. His nickname was Niki. Niki was her mother's darling. Then after the eldest son died in an accident, Niki was also the eldest. So he devoted much of his energy as a child to experimenting, and encouraged by his mother's inventive streak, drew up plans for flying machines very similar to how a helicopter would later function. He disassembled clocks to see how they worked and even designed. He cared for his mother a lot and would like to see her all the time. When he saw his mother's hands become tired, he thought of doing anything to help her. As he was thinking, his mother said, "I wish I was a scientist to make a little motor to automatically beat the eggs." Nikola Tesla was less than 10 years of age. He committed himself to making such a motor for his mother. Niki's imagination was very strong. He imagined the things that could make him a great scientist. He found a wooden tablet in the scrap at his house. He managed to point the tablet on one side and invented a sword in his own style. Now, like a scientist, he turned to fields to test his invention. The corn crop was ready to harvest. As a warrior, he took out his sword and cut down corn plants as an enemy. The action of his first invention excited him to end the enemy till he was tired. He routed countless enemies till evening and entered the house as a conqueror. He uttered, "Oh, look what I invented! Look, mother, I have become an inventor." The mother saw the sword and his clothes and ran to look out of the window. Soon she knew the invention of the sword and donation of a year-old crop. The mother thrashed her beloved son. After that, for several days his intelligent mind could not solve a problem. This tragedy made him understand that an invention was useless which did not earn public applause. So he gave himself to thinking about practical inventions. He used to sit outside the house by fields and think about such things. Water and power of water were his unexpressed loves. Someone told him that there is a Niagara Falls in America, where water falls from hundreds of feet down. He thought to retort a big wheel with the water to use it for generating electricity. He was related to lightning from the first moment of his birth. From his around, he had heard and read about the power generation and its use. His high school education also started at the age of 14. During this time, scientists would discuss electricity and electrical things. News reports were published, and like new ideas came to the IT sector those days. The mind of Nikola Tesla was also very sharp on the subject of electricity. All the students and teachers appreciated him for it. But the problem was that his father was a local pastor. He wanted to bring his son to the church. To train him in his childhood, he had given Nikola the duty to toll the church bell. The father of Nikola Tesla, a couple years ago, had lost his engineer mindset son in a deadly dangerous accident. Therefore, he was afraid even of the name of engineering or inventions. After his high school education, Nikola returned home to persuade his father. But here he fell into cholera. It was a fatal disease at that time. Its treatment was not as simple and common as it is today. His mother became greatly worried when she learned about it. The parents had already lost a son, and now the other son was on the deathbed. After 8 months, when Nikola did not recover, her father began to lose hope. Dismayed, he pledged to let Nikola have choice studies in the best institution. This raised hope in Nikola to fight the disease many times over. In the 9th or 10th month, he was out of bed, and his father gave up insistence on making him a priest. Nikola's dream and passion. Nikola came to University of Graz in Austria in 1870 to study engineering. Then industrial use of electricity was on in some parts of the world, including the US. Machines were running on it, but so far it was in domestic use. It was also a direct current to run from one side of the circuit and ends at the other. That's why electricity was wasted. Tesla's genius mind was lost to find a way which that this current is not wasted but returns for use again. When he discussed this theory, he was ridiculed, but it was not the problem for him. It was a revolutionary theory, but making it practical was a problem. Tesla needed investment to solve this problem. If he had invented an electricity-saving motor, every new appliance was to use it. But nobody wanted to trust and invest in the idea of Nikola then just in the early 20s. However, his efforts did bear fruit to his person. That people related to electricity business and were working on it learned about Tesla and that he was energetic and wanted to do something. And that he also has some ideas. So one such person employed 26 years old Nikola Tesla in 1882. Rise of the Icon, the origin story of the legend. From this point begins the story which is a legend of modern age. He was employed by famous scientist Thomas Edison at the Continental Edison Company in Paris. Working at this company, Tesla made induction motor, a water suction motor used in every house today, in its simple version. But he still could not find anyone to invest in his ideas across Europe. Meanwhile, the head of the Paris office, Charles Batchelor, offered him a job in Edison's company, Edison's Machine Works in New York, and a letter of favor was also written in the name of Edison. Tesla arrived with this letter in New York in 1884. Tesla showed the letter. Edison employed him as an engineer at a monthly $100. Tesla's job was to redesign all the generators in the workshop. It goes that he promised Tesla that he would also give him $100 bonus for this work out from the salary. Tesla needed money for his experiments and inventions, so he happily worked day and night. He would work from 10:30 a.m. till 5 a.m. the next day. That is, he would work continuously for up to 17 hours. Then he would sleep for 2 or 3 hours and start working again. He said he never slept more than 2 hours in a day. He believed that nothing was more gratifying to an inventor than to see the ideas he conceived being turned into new machine. In such a situation, a person forgets food, sleep, friendship, love and everything. So he redesigned all the generators within 6 months. In January 1885, he said goodbye to Edison Machine Works and became unemployed. Here, a world-changing idea of making the AC current a reality, but no investor in America was ready to put money on him. In comparison, Edison monopolized the expensive and low-capacity DC current and had a large investment. Because 2 years before Tesla's arrival, he had earned worldwide fame and money and was earning by sending lights to American houses. Tesla was looking for investors with his AC current idea, but he could not find any. Yes, he got a penny job. It was a job for $2 a day to dig arc light holes on the streets of New York. According to Nikola, the winters of 1886 and 87 were the bitterest in his life. Even in this extreme disappointment, he did not give up on his dreams, and dreams must be dreamed and kept alive because life gives chance to everyone. So Tesla also got such an opportunity. One day Tesla told the foreman about his induction motor. It was the same motor he had designed in Europe and it worked only on AC current. Whether or not the foreman picked up the idea, but surely Tesla impressed him that he was very different from other workers. He introduced worker Tesla to an engineer, Alfred Brown. Tesla told Alfred about his motor and successful practical use of AC current. He somewhat understood what it was. In April 1887, this is 2 years and 2 months after leaving Edison, Tesla partnered with Alfred and set up a company called Tesla Electric. In the company, Tesla also received a salary of $250. Industrious Tesla soon made a full system to generate electricity from AC current. He also registered the rights of AC current and allied power generators, transformers, and power supply in his name. Now he had also become a competitor of his former boss. There were many electricity supply companies in America, but they were all based on principle of direct current. Now when direct current was paying everyone handsomely, why should they invest in new technology? This was the mindset of many investors. Now Nikola Tesla could win over his competitor only when he would ensure successful delivery of cheap AC current to street and homes. He needed more investment, so he began giving demonstrations in his workshop to major investors to convince them that Tesla's ideas worked. He got his first major investor in demos named George Westinghouse. Westinghouse was working on AC current short of making it cheap and practical. Only on a small scale he was producing machines. When George Westinghouse saw Tesla was a solution to his problem and had a chance to beat his competitors across America with Tesla, he purchased rights to the AC current from Tesla over $1 million. George Westinghouse formed a new company called Westinghouse Electric. This was the beginning of the defeat of the DC current, because DC current was a low voltage current with a short reach. A big city necessitated a new power stations every mile to transmit electricity. This is a huge amount of money was required to the DC current. Tesla's AC current was high voltage, able to transmit power over thousands of kilometers using wires and poles. Only one power plant could supply electricity to the entire city. This AC current was much cheaper and better than DC. This was bad news for Edison and other DC current companies. If Tesla's ideas was successful, they would all be out of business. But Edison was the darling boy and hero of Americans. What did Tesla say in front of him? So he told the American people that AC current is very dangerous and electricity from Westinghouse of Tesla would kill its user in 6 months. He tried to instill fear in common people, public officials, and investors too. Edison went to the extent of seeking the execution of a convict by AC current. It was very torturous for the poor convict when executed this way. Death row convict William Campbell took a full 4 minutes to die, and the newspapers reported his body to be badly burned and took hours to cool. But when the news reached Edison, he had no regrets, or rather he viewed as it was the first time a man had been killed by AC current. Some mistakes must have been committed in excitement. He suggested that the next time a person is placed in an electric chair, both hands dip in a pot of water and then the current is released. Now Americans were seeing the painful death of men and animals from the AC current. Then their beloved scientist Edison was also opposing the AC current. After these incidents, the administration of New York City ordered that AC current wires be laid underground. Now Edison's DC current wiring was already underground, but Westinghouse electricity was to shift wires from the open poles to underground. It put a financial burden on a company, so it added to the power tariff a bit. Tesla was losing in the war of currents. It seemed AC current would disappear from the market, but nature gave Tesla another chance. In 1893, the World's Columbian Exhibition was being held in Chicago, which was to be attended by millions of people. The exhibition was to showcase new machines, and business community was also expected to participate in a large number. This first world exhibition was decided to be lit by electricity, for which more than 100,000 bulbs had to be lit at the exhibition site. Now that was a contract. The respective company of Edison and Tesla also tendered their bids for it. It was no longer just a contract battle. It was also a battle to decide which current would survive, Tesla's AC or Edison's DC. So Tesla's company Westinghouse tendered a bid of $500,000 and $1 million by Edison partner company General Electric. The organizers awarded the contracts to Tesla's AC current despite all the hype. Edison's propaganda spread only the panic of death through AC current. To dispel this impression, Tesla showed his hands put on an electrical terminal and current entered in his body. His body starting to glow like a bulb. But the current did not harm Tesla because he was wearing cork-soled shoes. He showed that if a little caution is taken, this current is the future of the world, and it is safe. In 1894, Tesla has gained the admiration of his peers and was awarded degrees from Columbia and Yale universities, as well as the Elliott Crescent Medal by the Franklin Institute. More good news followed after the Tesla Electric Company was contracted to build the first ever hydroelectric power plant at Niagara Falls, a childhood dreams of Tesla's that became a reality in 1895. Now Nikola Tesla has transferred a powerful technology to the world in forms of AC current. But his company Westinghouse began to go into losses. This loss was on account of some other reason, but Tesla was a good-natured person and was not greedy at all. He gave up the royalty to protect his company, but this generosity cost him dearly. Later on, when his new projects could not be commercialized, he was left with no source of income. Then in 1895, his personal laboratory in New York caught fire. Much of it was burned down. He was working on the invention of radio and wireless technology, and this burning benefited Marconi. After his laboratory burned down, it took him time to settle again. His rival Marconi used his theories and those of some other experts. With them, he successfully experimented with sending radio signals up to 12 miles. So Marconi was credited with the invention of the radio. The biggest advantage of this technology was that the telephone had also been invented by that time, but a huge money and labor were to be spent on laying its wire. A little hard work would enable Tesla to commercialize his technology and bring him enormous profits again. But instead of contending with Marconi, he thought could sound waves be transmitted from one to another point without wires? Why can't electric currents? He thought of technology to transmit electricity around the world without wires. Tesla successfully experimented with lighting bulbs with wireless electricity. He would transfer wires electricity like lightning while reading a book nearby. He demonstrated his success in universities and others to get investment. His experiments was transmitting electricity wirelessly, but only for very short distances. He did not as yet succeed in transmitting wireless electricity over long distances. For this purpose, in 1899, he built a laboratory in the US state of Colorado and spent all his wealth in transmitting wireless electricity over long distances. He worked day and night on this technology. His ideas and untiring work named him mad scientist in the scientific community. The mad scientist. One evening, the citizens of Colorado saw a wave of electricity several hundred feet high rising from the antenna. Tesla was transmitting electricity over long distances without wires. The thunder of this lightning was also heard 20 miles away like lightning. As the scene stopped, the power station in Colorado City blew away with a jolt. The entire city plunged into darkness. Criticism of the mad scientist intensified. However, he did not stop and continued to unsuccessful experiment. These experiments did not stop until he lost the last penny in his pocket. When he returned from Colorado to New York in the 90s, he was bankrupt. He had already given up the electricity royalty. Now he had no source of income. He approached J.P. Morgan, Edison's investor, and asked him to fund his experiments on wireless electricity as he was very near success. So he agreed. However, not for electricity but for wireless communication, because Marconi, who had invented the radio, was trying to send signals from Europe across the Atlantic Ocean to America, and that too without wires. This was very easy for Tesla, who was far ahead of Marconi in wireless technology. He had successfully transmitted electricity with wires thought as short distance. So Morgan wanted Tesla to soon bring this technology into practical form. Not only he could earn huge profit, but Tesla could also be a rich man again. So Morgan planned to give Tesla $150,000 for research on wireless communication. He built Tesla a tower and laboratory on Long Island near New York City. But Tesla began experiments with wireless electricity instead of radio signals. As a result, Marconi got time. He sent wireless signals across the sea, and J.P. Morgan was left in a dilemma. Now Morgan's differences with Tesla began. Tesla told him that he was working on technology to transmit electricity around the world without wires, and he is very close to success. Morgan responded with a historic phrase that if electricity goes to every house without wires, where the meter to be put? Now Tesla had no answers. By 1909, Tesla's name began to disappear from the world of technology, and his rivals Edison and Marconi were earning fame and fortune from their work. But Tesla was concerned about his daily needs. Money was now his goal, but when after so much hard work the denial of even a bit of acknowledgement disappoints a person, Tesla became frustrated and locked him in the shell of his own personality. Now he avoided meeting people. He would feed the pigeons in the park and take them as his friends. He would talk to them like an insane. He might have died of madness, but then Hitler came. Tesla's name once again got onto the lips of the heads of world powers. Against Hitler's war goals, America and Britain realized the need of weapons which enabled them to fight Hitler's war frenzy. In such a situation, Tesla made a claim to have designed a weapon dangerous enough to end all wars striking fear. This weapon was later named the Death Ray. As per Tesla, the Death Ray will only produce a powerful beam of electricity that will destroy hundreds of aircrafts flying within a 200-kilometer distance. From the US to Europe, the new inventions of Tesla became the talk of the town. But the fact was that Tesla never experimented. It was just a paper formula by him. In practice, this formula would charge the particles of tungsten or mercury. Tesla tried to sell his theory to Britain, Russia, Yugoslavia, and then the US. Britain also offered him $30 million, but this agreement could not be reached because Tesla wanted to be paid first. It may be due to his repeated frustration with money matters in his life that he had made him skeptical to trust anyone. In the early 90s, he moved to the US hotel the New York one. He lived alone in one room and his belongings were kept in another. Here he lived alone. He also worked on various scientific theories. During this period, he was also hit by a taxi and injured while going to the park. He suffered severe injuries to his back and had 3 ribs broken. Despite that, he refused to go to the doctor. This accident and old age had worsened his condition. Now an 80 years old, 6 feet and 3 inches tall, Nikola Tesla was in a state that he himself looked like an alien. At the time, his old company, Westinghouse Electric, also got a sense. The company took care to pay for his food and lodging in the hotel. While Yugoslavia, which was Tesla's homeland, its government also fixed a stipend for Tesla. Tesla began to make a living with this money. He spent the last 10 years for his life in these 2 rooms of the same hotel. Here he lived with all his research papers also kept there. It was 7th of January 1943. When a maid first opened the door, she found 86 years old Tesla was no more. After Tesla's last rites, his body was cremated and the ashes preserved. US FBI agents stormed Tesla's hotel room and seized all the documents present there. These FBI agents went through these papers to find the formula for the death ray. In 1952, through the efforts of Nikola Tesla's heirs and Yugoslavia, a US court ordered Tesla's reminders to be handed over to his nephew. So Tesla's nephew reached Yugoslavia with his reminders, research papers, and Tesla's ashes. These papers contain his detailed drawings Tesla had made for building airplanes taking off without a runway. These papers and reminders were brought to Yugoslavia in 1952 and placed in Tesla's museum in Belgrade. Tesla was not awarded for his work during his lifetime, but he commanded great respect after his death. He was named Man of the Future. Now the latest vehicles are being built in his name and many units as well. There are memorial statues of him in US and Croatia.